Did you know that the longest rain on Earth lasted 2 million years? And that's not going to be the only things you're going to learn today. Welcome back to the B2B Broken GTM Playbook. I'm Charlie. In episode 1, we uncovered how your go-to-market machine is misaligned, a system built to look busy, but that fails to drive revenue. Today, we're hitting the core of misalignment metrics. I help companies with budget exceeding $100 million, and what I've seen time and time again is that the numbers driving your decision, budget, headcount, and strategy are often not the right one. In other words, the KPIs you report aren't just flow, they're actually actively breaking your go-to-market machine. Let's be honest, we track what's easy, not what's useful. Marketers optimize for MQLs, marketing qualified leads, anyone who fills out a form, hits a score, or downloads a gated PDF. Sales, meanwhile, chase leads that barely qualified as being in market. Leadership receive a funnel chart that looks pristine and assumes everything's fine, but these numbers reflect internal convenience, not real demand. Consider this fact, only 5% of B2B buyers are actively in market at any given time. Buyers are already 70% through their buying journey before they even speak to a rep. 80% of buyers will choose a brand they already knew and trust before starting the buyer journey. Yet, most organizations continue to optimize for vanity metrics, mainly demand capture, while ignoring what truly matters, which is curating a strong brand and trust. Let's break down the key metrics that are costing you growth. First, MQLs. The first problem that we have with MQLs is the definition of it. I've seen marketing teams having very wide definition of it to just be able to meet the target. And then everything becomes a lead. Content syndication, white paper downloads, a fill form to access the website. And the reason why it's broken is that in average, the MQL to SQL conversion rate is about 13%. And I've seen in a lot of teams that I've worked with, I see that number is actually much lower for the teams that are focusing on demand capture and getting most of their budget on paid search, lead gen ad, and retargeting. What I've seen in one of the company is that about 20% of MQL were nearly driving 100% of the revenue. This misalignment forced your sales team to waste valuable time chasing leads that aren't truly ready, both costing money and momentum. Because when you drive a lot of leads through paid search, LinkedIn lead gen ad, and retargeting, you have to pay for those leads, you have to pay for the sales team time to go through all of these leads. A CRO at a large B2B company pushed to increase MQLs by 50%. The dashboard looked fantastic, more leads, more activity. However, sales soon stopped following up because those leads were cold. Their conversion rate dropped below what sales could achieve with their outbound strategy. This misalignment forced the sales team to waste time and resource chasing leads that weren't truly ready, causing both financial waste and operation chaos. Because in the end, what happened is that the sales team were not even opening those marketing leads anymore. The second key metric that is costing you growth is last click attribution or marketing pipeline. So the idea is that we give credit to the final touch point before the conversion. The reason why it's broken is because it completely ignores the buyer journey. When a buyer search, clicks a paid ad, and then finally converts after reading organic content, going on podcasts, looking at your YouTube video, last click attribution claims the paid ad did all the work. In reality, 2/3 of organizations today still use last click attribution. Even though buyers often start the journey with organic posts, podcasts, blog, YouTube, Reddit, this skewed perspective leads to overinvestment on the bottom of the funnel like retargeting, brand search, LinkedIn lead gen ad. The result is that marketing wastes a significant amount of money to ensure that they have a marketing tag on the deal, increasing CAC, reducing margin. I've observed several companies relying on last touch attribution well, and the result is always the same. They overspend on paid search, LinkedIn ad, and retargeting, increasing the customer acquisition cost and reducing your margin. This approach fills their pipeline with cold leads that aren't ready to buy, resulting in a colossal waste of money. This is why you should never rely solely on platform ROAS. Those numbers are misleading. Brand paid search often looks impressive on paper, which causes companies to waste an average of 11% of their budget on it. In my experience, I've never seen an incrementality test that proves the added value of brand paid search at the spending level companies commit to. Allocating a small budget to it can make sense, but that's part of a much larger discussion. Marketing influence pipeline is the portion of your sales pipeline that marketing claims have influence, typically measured through attribution models. So what it does is that it only aggregates every trackable and digital touchpoint, regardless its real contribution to the sale, inflating perceived impact of marketing. These metrics often include a lot of retargeting strategies where the real impact is questionable, meaning that you're chasing activity rather than actual revenue. Sales team often push back, noting that what's reported as marketing influence really aligns with the buyer true decision-making process. Relying on this metric encourages overinvestment in channels that cause noise and not genuine demand. Now let's drill down to why MTA, long considered as the backbone of many marketing influence pipeline metric, is fundamentally flawed. One of the biggest issues is that it focuses on the how, the touchpoint, rather than the why, trust and deeper buyer motivation. Remember, people buy on trust, not on a string of digital interaction. The second problem is that it's incomplete data and bottom of the funnel focus. MTA assumes every touchpoint is digital and trackable. In reality, many key interactions such as word of mouth, recommendation, in-person meeting happen offline. There's also a lot of digital touchpoint that you can't track. For example, somebody who's going on your YouTube channels, follows and look at all your videos. This results in a heavy bias towards the bottom funnel activities like retargeting, paid search and lead gen ads, while ignoring the early stage of the buyer journey where trust is built. Misaligned incentive. By rewarding easily trackable, quantifiable action, MTA push marketing team to focus on the how of the buyer journey, chasing clicks and touchpoints rather than understanding the underlying why. This misguided focus leads to overinvestment in tactics that look good on paper but don't drive new trust-based demand. For instance, one company's MTA showed Facebook contributing to 1.5 of revenue, but when we started to look in self-attribution, incrementality testing and MMM, that number shot up to 25%. Such discrepancy misdirects spending away from channels that truly build trust. An important problem we have with multi-touch attribution is a causation versus correlation. MTA merely records and distributes credit at each touchpoint, without proving that any particular interaction actually caused a sale. It doesn't distinguish between a touchpoint that generally influenced the buyer decision and one that was simply there by chance. It's like crediting a doorman for the customer's decision to enter your store, even though they would have walked in regardless. Something we've touched on it already is the offline and emotional touchpoint. The emotional and offline element of the buyer journey, like a recommendation from a trusted peer or a heartfelt conversation with a sales rep, are completely invisible to MTA. In B2B sales, these human elements are critical. Buyer needs to feel confident and secure in their decision. That trust comes from more than just a series of digital clicks. In short, by focusing solely on the how, MTA drives marketers to optimize for vanity metrics rather than building the genuine trust that underpins successful sales. It forces your team to chase numbers that look impressive on the dashboard, but ultimately fail to capture the true driver of revenue. These flawed metrics drive the entire decision-making process, and that's where the damage lies. Budget gets misallocated based on inflated false numbers, headcount decision favor a bloated sales team chasing low-quality leads, even as conversion rate drops. Strategic decisions focus on efficiency metrics rather than on what truly drives revenue. But metrics aren't just abstract number on a dashboard. They create real stress. When your sales team chase cold, unqualified leads because of inflated MQL counts, they miss quotas. I've sat in revenue reviews where marketing teams were celebrating thousands of touchpoints and sales grumbled that these leads are junks. This disconnect breeds a culture of blame and uncertainty, affective job security, and leaving top executives scrambling to understand why the system is falling. If you want a GTM engine that truly works, you need to shift your focus from vanity metrics to real performance signal, both quantitative and qualitative. It's not just about numbers, it's about building a quality data framework that answers the right question. How did you hear about us? Why now? Why us? Who are the competitors? What are our winning features? And where are our gaps? What concerns do you as a buyer have? These questions aren't just details, they're secret weapons that reveal why buyers choose you and what's driving their decision. To build this comprehensive view, you need to combine hard metrics with insight gathered from sales script transcript, survey, and interviews. In fact, starting with the transcript of your sales note is already a great step. Those real conversations reveal the why behind each buyer's decision that no dashboard can capture. Here's what you should track: your baseline percentage. This is your revenue driven by non-demand capture strategies. So it is basically all your revenue that is not driven by paid search, LinkedIn lead gen, and retargeting campaign. A simple example, somebody hears your podcast, go on your website and book a demo. This is the customer coming to you without the need of retargeting, lead gen, and paid search. This is the most profitable audience. Maximizing your baseline, maximize your margin, minimize your CAC and your customer acquisition cost, and maximize your growth. If you want growth, you need to focus on minimizing the budget you spend on demand capture and maximize what you spend on brand. Unfortunately, most B2B go-to-market strategy do the exact opposite. Self-report attribution. Ask how did you hear about us? With follow-up questions like why now? Why did you choose us over competitors? This uncovers actually demand source, word of mouth, content influence, community referrals, and reveals concerns and perceived competitive advantages. For example, one client who implemented self-report attribution found out that 30% of their revenue came from referral. I figured that a traditional attribution missed entirely. Actually, a lot was coming into true paid brand search. Another key metric is to follow the branded queries and the direct traffic. So branded queries is any query on Google, Instagram, YouTube, Reddit, you name it, with your company name in it. And that will be able to understand your share of search. And direct traffic is obviously all the people going straight to your website. Yeah, just little parenthesis, a lot of your direct traffic is probably iOS. I see this all the time, and it's because of the confidentiality filters. And so you can use these metrics as proxies for brand preference. If your branded search and direct traffic numbers are rising without additional media spend, it indicates that your brand is resonating. Remember, a lot of research have proven that an increase in those metrics drives revenue eventually, from a 4 weeks to a quarter delay. A lot of research have shown that those metrics are actually preceding revenue. And here is the table. Pipeline velocity. Track how quickly high quality leads move through your pipeline. It's not just how many deals are created. Faster velocity means that you're attracting buyers who are truly in market and reveals where the process might be stalling. Also, all of your brand and trust strategy should improve that velocity, because the more you cover the concerns of your clients and key features, the less the sales team have to sell your product. Another key metric to follow is blended CAC. So we're not looking at the customer acquisition cost by channel, but overall. And the reason is because of the importance of incrementality. A lot of your channels which are on the top of the funnel will have a very high customer acquisition cost because they're fitting different level. And on the real bottom of the funnel, like paid brand search, you'll have a very good customer acquisition cost. But the problem is that it's very misleading because there's a lot of chains that you didn't need that spend on paid brand search. And so this is why you can't really rely on CAC by campaigns. You can rely on some of these metrics at different level in the funnel, but blended CAC will help you to understand the overall picture. Another metric is win rate by source. Be careful. When I say source, I don't mean like source from any attribution tool. I mean a source that is defined by your quantitative and qualitative data to make sure that you really pinpoint the real source. Again, what we're interested is the why, not the how. This helps to reallocate your resources to channels that truly drive revenue instead of those activities that simply generate activity. Another important one, of course, is revenue growth. You can track the actual revenue growth as a direct measure of your GTM success. Look at how incremental improvement, like 1% lift in branded search traffic, translates into real bottom line revenue increases. And I would go even further, is that instead of looking at revenue, what I'd like to do is to look at profit. Let's not forget, a company's overall goal is to maximize profit, not revenue. Another metric to follow up is the open pipeline, so you can monitor both volume and quality of the opportunity currently in your sales pipeline. An open metric not only counts the deals created, but also assess how many are actively progressing, giving you a pulse on the future cash flow and overall pipeline health. By combining these metrics with qualitative insights gathered from sales call, transcripts, surveys, interviews, you create a dual layered approach. This isn't just about tracking numbers, it's about understanding and shaping the buyer's journey. When you ask prospects like, how did you hear about us? Why now? Why us? Why did you choose us over competitors? You uncover the real drivers behind the decision. This data, alongside concrete numbers, is the foundation of a revenue machine that lowers CAC, boosts win rate, and ultimately drives sustained revenue growth. Remember, these aren't arbitrary KPIs. They're the levers that align your sales, marketing, and leadership around what truly matters: customer preference, stable market share, and future cash flow. If you're ready to move from chasing vanity metrics to building a system that delivers real value, these are the metrics you need to pull. This isn't just a data adjustment, it's a fundamental shift in how you measure success. You don't need to prove that marketing is working on paper. You need to show that your GTM engine is creating preference. Your brand builds trust long before the buyer entered the funnel. Converting high quality demand, the right leads move quickly through your pipeline. Lowering CAC, you reduce costs by investing in what truly moves the needle, not vanity metrics. Compounding over time, sustainable growth comes from systems that generate repeatable results. When you align your metrics around revenue impact than mere activity, you build a revenue machine that scales. That's what every CEO, CFO, and CRO craves, a system that delivers stable market share and future cash flow, not just pretty numbers. Next up, we'll dive into episode 3, clicks don't compound, but preference does. In that episode, we'll explore how to build long-term demand in a world that only rewards short-term results. If this episode hits a nerve, or if you think I missed something, drop a comment. I read everything, and I always want to sharpen the thinking. We're not here to chase vanity metrics, we're here to rebuild your GTM machine around what truly matters, which is trust, real demand, and revenue impact. Remember, it's not about chasing every lead, it's about aligning your entire organization, marketing, sales, and leadership around a unified strategy that builds customer preference and reduces churn. This is the B2B GTM Reset, and it starts now.